Welcome to Star Watch Now, your front row seat to all the hottest gossip, drama, and breaking news from the world of entertainment. If it's trending, shocking, or star-studded, we're covering it. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next.
After renewing his contract, Wang Yibo no longer looks like the same person. And perhaps the most surprising part is that this was never simply about renewing a contract at all. What unfolded behind the scenes felt more like a quiet battle of influence, patience, and control. For months, the entertainment world watched every movement carefully. Rumors circulated endlessly, questions grew louder. Would he stay? Would he finally walk away? And while the public focused on headlines and speculation, something much deeper seemed to be happening underneath the surface. This was not a story about emotions. It was not a story about misunderstandings. It was a story about value, about leverage, about what happens when an artist becomes so powerful that even the company behind him can no longer pretend the balance of power has stayed the same. The moment Yuehua Entertainment officially announced the renewal, many fans celebrated with relief. But others noticed something unusual almost immediately. Wang Yibo quietly changed his Weibo name. A small action on the surface, yet one that carried enormous symbolic meaning. In the entertainment industry, the smallest details are often the loudest messages. And suddenly, people began to realize this renewal may not have been a surrender from either side. It may have been a negotiation between two forces that both understood exactly how much they needed each other. And honestly, that is what shocked the industry the most. For years, Wang Yibo carried the identity of an idol group member. The name Unique was attached to him since the beginning of his career, representing the youthful image that first introduced him to the public. But over time, everything changed. While many idols struggled to escape fixed labels, Wang Yibo quietly transformed himself step by step. First through television, then through cinema, then through fashion, then through motorsport. By the time audiences fully realized what had happened, he was no longer operating within a single industry. He had become an entire commercial ecosystem on his own. That is why the Weibo name change mattered so much. Removing the group prefix was not merely cosmetic, it symbolized independence. It felt like the closing of one chapter and the official beginning of another. Instead of presenting himself as a member of a former idol framework, he positioned himself as a fully independent brand, with global recognition attached directly to his personal identity. That subtle shift carried tremendous weight. Many people initially believed the long negotiation process suggested tension or dissatisfaction, but perhaps the reality was more mature than that. Adult negotiations are rarely driven by emotion alone. In highly competitive industries, negotiations become a calculation of value, timing, influence, and future positioning. Both sides understand the stakes. Both sides protect their interests, and ultimately, both sides search for the most practical balance possible. That is exactly why this renewal drew so much attention across the Chinese entertainment industry. Because, for the first time in years, audiences witnessed something unusual. A top-tier celebrity was no longer negotiating from a position of dependence. Instead, he appeared to be negotiating from a position of equal strength. And the numbers surrounding Wang Yibo's influence are difficult to ignore. His commercial portfolio now stretches across luxury fashion, technology, automotive partnerships, skincare, lifestyle brands, and global campaigns. Every endorsement announcement creates immediate online discussion. Product visibility rises dramatically within hours. Social media engagement explodes almost instantly. His market appeal has evolved beyond fandom enthusiasm into something much larger. Brands no longer simply view him as an entertainer. They view him as a stabilizing force, capable of generating attention across multiple demographics simultaneously. His influence in luxury fashion especially changed the conversation surrounding Chinese celebrities internationally. Appearing at Paris Fashion Week for consecutive years was not only about visibility, it represented recognition from some of the world's most competitive luxury houses. Breaking through those barriers is extraordinarily difficult, particularly for male celebrities from Asia. Yet, Wang Yibo gradually established himself as one of the most discussed Chinese figures within international fashion spaces. Overseas social media metrics continued to climb. Video clips circulated globally. Hashtags accumulated billions of views. The scale of his reach transformed him from a domestic star into an internationally marketable personality. And this is where the real tension begins to emerge. Since Yuehua Entertainment entered the public market, discussions surrounding the company often returned to the same question. How dependent was the company on Wang Yibo's continued success? Investors noticed it. Industry analysts noticed it. Even casual observers began discussing it online. Although the company attempted to diversify into new business areas, entertainment management remained its strongest revenue source. And within that structure, Wang Yibo's presence stood at the center of attention. Financial reports only intensified these conversations. Revenue contributions linked to artist management remained extremely high. His personal commercial value appeared deeply connected to market confidence surrounding the company itself. As stock fluctuations became more visible, many observers began wondering whether the relationship between artist and company had quietly evolved into something much more complicated than a traditional management agreement. In previous generations of entertainment, companies typically held the majority of control. Artists depended on agencies for opportunities, exposure, and career survival. But modern entertainment has changed dramatically. Social media transformed celebrity power structures. Personal IP became stronger. Global fan economies expanded. Today, the biggest stars can directly influence brand sales, platform traffic, stock sentiment, and international visibility almost independently. Wang Yibo represents that transformation perfectly. This is why many people believe the contract renewal was never simply about continuing a partnership. It was about redefining the structure of that partnership entirely. The wording used by Yuehua Entertainment attracted attention for a reason. The phrase, "closer collaboration," sounded unusually strategic. It suggested that the relationship may now involve deeper alignment beyond ordinary artist management. Some industry observers interpreted this as a sign of evolving cooperation models within entertainment itself. Rather than operating purely as employer and employee, the relationship begins to resemble something closer to shared long-term interests. And honestly, this reflects a much larger trend across modern entertainment industries worldwide. Top celebrities are no longer just talents being managed. They are intellectual properties. They are business engines. They are investment anchors. Their names influence corporate confidence. Their visibility shapes market performance. Their personal image becomes tied to shareholder expectations. That reality creates pressure for both sides. For Yuehua Entertainment, securing Wang Yibo's continued presence helps stabilize confidence. It reassures investors. It protects commercial relationships. It preserves continuity during uncertain market periods. But for Wang Yibo, remaining within the partnership also provides advantages. Infrastructure, industry networks, strategic coordination, international brand relationships, large-scale project support. The renewal, therefore, appears less like emotional reconciliation and more like a carefully structured balance between mutual necessity and strategic respect. And perhaps that is why the story resonated so strongly with audiences online. People sensed they were witnessing more than celebrity gossip. They were witnessing a visible shift in entertainment power dynamics. The fascinating part is that neither side publicly created conflict. There were no dramatic accusations, no explosive statements, no direct confrontations. Everything remained relatively calm on the surface. Yet, underneath that calmness existed unmistakable tension. The silence itself became part of the narrative. Every delay, every rumor, every stock movement, every subtle social media action generated enormous discussion, because audiences understood the stakes were unusually high. In many ways, Wang Yibo's personal evolution mirrors the broader transformation happening inside Asian entertainment industries today. Younger generations of stars increasingly seek greater creative autonomy and stronger ownership over their careers. The era of absolute company control appears to be fading gradually. Audiences themselves have changed as well. Fans no longer admire celebrities only for glamour or performance. They admire strategic thinking, independence, resilience, and long-term vision. That is why Wang Yibo's image after the renewal feels so different to many people. He no longer projects the energy of someone simply following a predetermined path. Instead, he appears increasingly deliberate, more composed, more selective, more aware of his own influence within the industry ecosystem surrounding him. Even his ventures outside acting contribute to that perception. Motorsport, fashion photography, luxury campaigns, artistic film projects. These activities collectively build an image that extends far beyond conventional idol culture. They create the impression of someone continuously expanding his identity instead of remaining trapped within one formula. Audiences find that deeply compelling, because growth itself becomes part of the story. And perhaps the most remarkable aspect of all this is how quietly it happened. There was no single dramatic announcement declaring his transformation, no sudden rebranding campaign, no aggressive public repositioning. Instead, the change unfolded gradually over years, through consistent career decisions, increasingly ambitious projects, and disciplined image management. By the time people fully recognized the scale of his influence, he had already become one of the most commercially valuable figures in Chinese entertainment. Naturally, such influence also creates risk. The stronger an individual brand becomes, the more complicated the surrounding system becomes as well. Companies face growing pressure to reduce dependence on single artists. Investors worry about long-term sustainability. Market expectations rise continuously. Every decision carries amplified consequences. That is why this renewal attracted so much industry attention. It represented more than continuity. It represented adaptation. Both sides appeared forced to acknowledge a new reality neither could completely ignore. Some observers even described Wang Yibo as one of the first top-tier Chinese entertainers capable of genuinely influencing the strategic direction of the company behind him. Whether that description is entirely accurate or slightly exaggerated, the perception itself is incredibly significant. Because perception shapes narratives, and narratives shape industries. At the center of this entire story stands one important truth. Wang Yibo's greatest strength may not simply be popularity. It may be composure. Throughout months of speculation, he revealed very little publicly. No emotional interviews, no impulsive responses, no visible frustration. That restraint strengthened his image even further. It created the impression of someone carefully controlling his own pace, while allowing the market to reveal how valuable he had become naturally. Perhaps that calmness comes from experience. After all, he entered the industry extremely young, trained under pressure, worked abroad during difficult formative years, and learned early how competitive entertainment could become. People who survive that environment often develop remarkable discipline. And over time, discipline itself becomes a form of power. This entire situation also reveals something emotionally powerful for fans who followed his journey from the beginning. Watching an artist evolve from teenage trainee into someone capable of negotiating with enormous companies on equal footing creates a strong sense of pride and emotional attachment. Fans are not only watching success anymore, they are watching growth, transformation, maturity, independence. And maybe that is the true reason this story became so viral. Not because people were interested in contracts alone, not because people were curious about corporate numbers, but because audiences recognized a deeper narrative hidden underneath everything else. The story of a young idol gradually becoming a figure powerful enough to reshape the very system that once shaped him. Thank you so much for watching today's report on Star Watch Now. We would love to hear your thoughts about this fascinating situation. Do you believe Wang Yibo's renewal represents a new era for the entertainment industry? Or do you think companies will always remain the stronger force in the long run? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, because your perspective is always part of the conversation here on this channel. And if you enjoyed this deeper style of storytelling, exploring not only celebrity news, but also the hidden dynamics behind fame, influence, and the entertainment business, please consider subscribing to Star Watch Now and turning on notifications so you never miss our future updates. Your support truly helps the channel continue bringing thoughtful and engaging stories from the world of Chinese entertainment. Thank you once again for spending time with us today. Wishing all of you a wonderful day ahead, and we will see you very soon in the next video.